similar concerns. Um, and I think that's totally acceptable. That's totally expected just with the way things have been lately. But I hope to address some of those concerns, especially ones going into like ideas of what you might want to do with your virtual events to help encourage that engagement, different ways of recruiting, different ways of forming those connections. And I know you guys have concerns like the different, handbook guidelines. And so we're going to be addressing a lot of those today. So don't worry on that end. And if you guys have any questions throughout any of it, please feel free to flag or message in the chat. And I would love to, and no problems interrupting me. All right, so we just did our check-in. And so next we are going to go ahead and go into the updates to the RSO handbook. There have been some obvious, expectation changes. There have been some things that are going to be adjusted just as we go into this fall semester. So keep in mind, a lot of these things are kind of tentative. So they might just stick for the fall semester. Some things may stick long-term. So for one, all the ICC meetings do now have required attendance. So that can be from your VP, that can be from the president, or if you need to send an executive board member, that's fine as well. Just let us know in advance. But that is one that will be kind of permanent going into the future. It is only a once a month meeting. And during those meetings, we are having the opportunity to kind of intermingle and get a lot of those questions that you guys have and those concerns answers. So don't miss out on that. As well as I know you guys were concerned about the online event planning. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what that form will look like. Actually, here we'll go straight through the handbook adjustments. So like I said, for one, the ICC meetings are now going to be required. For two, campus-wide events for the fall will not be required, but we are highly suggesting that you guys maintain those. I'm going to do at least one campus-wide online event for the fall semester. Now, obviously, you're still going to have your personal group meetings and everything that comes along with that, but we recommend still having that large option, and that can be a variety of things. I'm going to give some examples which you can do later on, but I know that you guys are worried about recruitment, and by sending those invites and pushing those social media flyers and the marketing tools that you want to use and keeping it open to the public, that's how you get those numbers higher, by opening it up to more than just the people that you're traditionally used to. We also will not be requiring your philanthropy event for the fall semester. Again, another thing that would be very difficult to do virtually with everybody being so distant. There will still be the leadership summit in the spring. That is currently still planned. The date for that is not out just yet. It's usually in March. So 20% of all of your members are required to be at that. So go ahead and start getting that prepared mentally. There will also now be an RSO training both in the fall semester and in the spring semester. This is done because we have had a lot of organizations join during the fall that don't get the same opportunity to get familiar with the handbook. And it'll be similar to how this one is, where it's just that 2-hour period. And I'll give the date for that later on. If that date does change, of course, I'll let you guys know. But for those who do go, it'll go in the fall. It'll just kind of be a refresher for you. And those who are new organizations joining in the fall, it'll be an opportunity for them to really get familiar with how things run as an RSO. And one more unfortunate thing is that there currently is no plans for SGA funds to be available for the fall semester. Unfortunately, just with the climate of way things are right now, it's just not available.
Can I make a note on that?
Yeah.
So just to kind of clarify why there are not SGA funds available. So as you all know, when we made the election to go virtual for the fall semester, the university also decided not to charge the student activity fee since everyone was going to be virtual. And the student activity fee is what basically creates or where the money for the SGA and Club and Org budget comes from. So given that we're not charging that fee, there's no money to then go into that pot. Ideally, there will be funds in the spring because we'll be back on campus and that fee will start generating again. But because we elected not to charge that fee in the fall semester, there's no budget for SGA and clubs and orgs for the fall semester.
So continuing on with that, I did want to go ahead and show you guys what that online form would look like, because I know a lot of you are concerned on making sure you have that filled out. So give me 2 seconds. So when you go on the My Queens page, which should load, give it a second, you'll be able to see the student event request form right here. And so that is going to be also required for all events for the fall semester, even online engagement ones. And I'll show you guys what that form looks like. Once you click into it, it's going to go to Monica. As you see here, it's going to be the first and last name, the email, the organization, your event name, and then basically, is it reoccurring event? So when you guys are doing your meetings, this is still a form that you're going to want to fill out. It's not just going to be for, special occasions. It is if you guys are meeting in any type of capacity, we do need to know about it, especially if it is going to be a reoccurring meeting. So please definitely fill this out as soon as possible if you plan on doing any type of anything.
And one thing I'll say for the form, I know it may seem silly to fill it out for like a regularly scheduled club and organization meeting. Like I think, or it might have been you for music therapy that was like already on it and already put in their meetings. And I know it may seem silly to put in a request to have your club and org meeting. It's not that we're going to review that and say, oh, we're not going to let you have it. It lets us know when that is, but it also gives me a touch point to make sure that you know and have the virtual resources. So if you're putting it in, and I know that like, okay, I don't think music therapy has ever used Ring Central or done X, Y, and Z, it gives me that touch point to then respond and say, hey, Corey, I got this, super excited that music therapy club's going to be meeting again. What do you all need? Are you familiar with how those resources work? How can we best support you? And then if you're hosting a virtual event, it allows us to kind of help process and see how we can best support you in that as well, and make sure that you have what you need, because we know that this is kind of a weird and funky year. And so we just want to make sure that we have the chance to see those things coming in. And that way, if we have great ideas or we may have resources that you don't know about, we have the opportunity to then respond to you and say, hey, yes, this is approved. Here's some resources we can provide. Let us know what you need.
And follow up next, I did want to talk to you guys a little bit about what the 15%, I'm sorry, about the virtual clubs and org fair. That's going to be on the 2nd, that's this Wednesday coming up. So all of you should have submitted your videos to me. They're going to be uploaded to YouTube. And in the YouTube, this is the one that I sent you guys. I promise I'm not wearing the same shirt. But it's going to have your information at the bottom. So it's going to have an easy way to find you, contact you. That's why it's really important that you guys added your social media to them. To anybody who has not sent me that video, I will be collecting them at least until the end of today, at the latest 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, because they do take a second to upload. So please get those to me as soon as possible. Again, please have your contact information as well as any social media that you guys are going to want that the students reach out to you to. This is kind of your biggest selling point, because this gives them the ability to put a face to the organization that they're going to be interested in joining. So this is when you kind of have to let your personality shine as presidents, and really be that representative that you were signed up to be as the president. I think somebody has a question. Give me 1 second. Does the event request form also go for other meetings to do with the club? So if you're having a meeting this Wednesday with the board and advisor to talk about things and do things, how will that look for the semester? Yes. So if you are meeting with your organization, even e-board, that would be it. But I don't believe if you're meeting with your advisor that would need to be something that you do a whole event request form for. But if it is your e-board, yes. But if it's just like a one-on-one thing, that's not required.
So quick question on that.
Yeah.
The requirement's 3 weeks, just because it's a check-in, and we're not looking at like getting a room set up type deal. Is that a hard 3-week turn-in, or is it just try to get it in as fast as possible?
Yes, I can take that one, Eddie. So the 3 is more for if you're planning like a larger campus event, like if you're hosting a virtual event for campus or for a larger group of people. And that's more so to make sure that we have time to look at it, make sure that you've processed it appropriately, thought through kind of the tech things, because we know that for many of you, and as you said in the introductions, not everyone's as comfortable. So we want to make sure that we have time to like walk through all of those stages and make sure that you have the resources and that you understand how to use the tools, and then still have time to kind of advertise appropriately. If it's something like your standing club and org meeting, or something that's just kind of an internal, your club is meeting and doing something, that doesn't necessarily have a 3-week, like I'm flexible on that. But in terms of like anything that would be a larger event that you'd be inviting people outside of your organization to, or that you'd be advertising campus wide, I would like kind of a 2 to 3 week processing time just to make sure that we can implement it effectively in a virtual space.
Awesome. Thank you.
And following up with the, like I said, the YouTube videos, it's going to be in a playlist. It's just going to say the Virtual Clubs and Orgs Fair. That link can be found on the Rex's Royal Connection page. So the flyer for it is going to, like, once you go on Rex's Royal Connection, enroll in the class and everything like that, you'll be able to get these updates for everything that's going to be going on, the schedule that's going on for the week. But right here is where you're going to see the Virtual Clubs and Orgs Fair. And as it is, it's September 2nd at noon is when we're going to go ahead and have that link be live. But some of the videos are going to go ahead and be posted now to make sure that there's no issues. So up here in the corner, it's also going to have the link. So it'll be both beneath that flyer, as well as in the clubs and orgs section right here, the Virtual Clubs and Orgs Fair. So once you guys have those given to me, please make sure they're good quality videos. Make sure you're covering all the bases and really trying to sell yourselves. But that will be up and available for you. Any questions regarding Clubs and Orgs Fair or the account with anything like that?
I have a question.
Yeah.
How can we enroll in the Rex's Royal Connection?
Oh, so I can send you the link to that. Monica,
Okay.
did you have something to say?
Yeah, I was gonna say, you should have gotten an email from Vice President Flores Mills.
Oh, okay.
It may be an email that came last week, or it may be something that she's sending out on the 2nd. I feel like she may have sent something already, but she may have only sent it to incoming students. But there should have been a link there. Eddie also has it. If for some reason you can't find it, I can send it to you as well. You just have to self-enroll in the class, and it'll be in Q News next week as well. But you just self-enroll, and then that's kind of the virtual space for all things engagement. So if individual departments, or like there's fitness classes that are in here, but kind of all of those electronic engagement opportunities campus-wide will be housed within Rex's Rural Connection.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so if anybody does need that, I will also send that out with a bit of a wrap up at the end of this meeting as well. So you'll have that access to that link. 1 second, go ahead and put that back on for you. Did anybody else have any questions regarding the Clubs and Orgs Fair and how the videos are going to be used? No.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Are you collecting videos from sororities and fraternities as well, or is that going to be a separate thing for the Clubs and Orgs Fair?
So yeah, we definitely are collecting videos for Clubs and Orgs, for the Greek life as well. But the IGC is going to be doing a virtual Meet the Greeks soon, where that will be a little bit more aimed at. But yes, we can also post the Greek life videos.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything. So.
Yeah,
okay.
No problem. But as you guys know, like I said earlier, there are a lot of important updates coming soon. So these are going to be the dates for the ICC meetings. During these ICC meetings, we're going to cover a lot of the concerns that you guys had for the semester. So things like membership will be a focus, things like engagement will be a focus. We're still going to talk a little bit about that today. But during that time, you can also get updates and promotions for different events going on between one another. Because obviously having those types and opportunities to connect and collaborate with each other is what's going to help your organizations grow. So the ICC meeting dates are listed here, as well as the spring training date as it's planned. So if there's any questions regarding those, like I said, it is the president or some member of your e-board attending. If it is not going to be your president, just let us know in advance, as well as the virtual Clubs and Orgs Fair. Give you guys a little second to take that note. Does everybody have those dates down?
So we have to be present for the clubs and orgs fair?
No, so that's just when the link will be live.
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Do we have times for those meetings yet, or are they still to come?
Oh, I'm sorry. Those will be at the 10:40 to 11:40 period that they were at last year during the open window. All right, anybody else need a second for those?
I have a question. Is it going to be recorded if you can make the meeting?
Yeah, all online meetings will be recorded for you.
Thank you.
And I can send them back out and post them. Like this will also be posted on the YouTube as well.
All right, thank you.
My pleasure. All right. So I know you guys are really concerned about what makes a successful online event. Obviously, it's a big transition for all of us. So there's a lot of experimenting that gets to go into it. And I think that's an opportunity to try some new ideas out that you wouldn't normally have the same opportunity to do so. So I wanted to cover a few different things that we've been doing in student engagement to help keep everybody engaged, keep everybody interested in what these events look like. So the first thing, obviously, you really want to be interactive with these events. You want to be present with these events. You want to be engaging with these events. But what does engagement look like to everybody? I think that, to me, engagement is a lot of thinking about how to have a conversation versus just kind of talking at people in the camera. So what do you got? What's something that separates an online event when you guys are watching an Instagram live or when you're watching a movie with friends or you're Skype calling? What's something that separates that than being in a classroom with a teacher? Anybody? What makes being in a classroom with a teacher so like difficult sometimes? Like what makes it stiff?
You can't leave sometimes.
That is true. You're stuck there. You're kind of forced there.
You are like there to basically like learn, so you're not it's hard to put in words. You're not being interacted a lot, like discussing things. So it's mainly the teacher just talking and thing, and you just sit there kind of thing. And
It seems like a lot of note taking.
yeah. So like you're just like, okay, what did the professor say? How do I kind of the whole remembering things and stuff. Yeah.
And there can be an issue even like where you don't get the chance to break down the concepts. You don't get the chance to speak on what you think about it. So I think a big part of what being engaging is making sure that you're talking to and with people, not just at them. So if you can throw in some questions, throw in some surveys, throw in some interactive polls that you want to do during your presentations, that way you're getting feedback on what your community, what your audience is thinking, while also being able to have them do something. They're not just staring at the computer screen taking notes. So look at things like that. Make sure that you do breakout sessions. Make sure that you try to use multiple sources of media. Like text can get very dry after a while. So you want to have videos if you can. So examples or even pictures are available to you. And it's not just here's a PowerPoint, here's what I need to show you and just read it off of it. You really want to make sure it's a conversation. So do you guys ever take pictures at your events that you could use as marketing tools and use to try and have people interact? Personally, number one thing I hate is notes. So if you guys do have the key points, you want to talk to them and have the key points available on your screen, but you want to be able to facilitate conversation. So what is something that you guys think that you can do what's a question that you think has people active? Like what makes you want to talk to a teacher? What makes you want to talk on the phone with anybody? What makes it more natural?
The
when,
idea,
so sorry. Go ahead. When they ask you like about yourself or ask you your opinions, they kind of engage it more towards wanting to know what you think and what you like and stuff.
Okay. Anybody else? What gets you engaged?
They listen to what you have to say. They don't just ask the question and move on.
So actually being responsive. Anybody else? Well, another one that I have on here is the feedback. So that kind of goes into that whole asking the question and getting an answer. You guys definitely want to make sure, especially at this time, that after you do your events, you do some type of follow-up, whether that be like, how was everything? Or here's what we did. What do you suggest we do next time? Or what are some pluses and minuses on how you think the event went? So you really want to use this as a chance to, like I said, get feedback and tailor your events towards your audience, not exclusively on what you want to plan, because you can't really do the same things that you were able to do before. So instead of exclusively doing the cup and mug making sale for the art club in person, is there a way that we can do a do-it-yourself like teaching lesson? And what does that look like? So I think that, let me ask, business club, what is an event that you held during your last year?
We had Siemens International come and talk about their rotational internship.
Okay. Is there any way that we could get a speaker that could do a Zoom call?
Yeah, I'm actually looking into Crew, commercial real estate for women, and they're gonna they want to put together a panel. And so I think like just going into that information session, people are already gonna have questions like, what are the possibilities in real estate? Because I thought it was just selling houses, And I think that's kind of like giving back, because they're gonna have like a lot of things to tell us, like all the different people.
Good. I like that. That's innovative, and it's still applicable to what's going on now. Like, you didn't lose that avenue. You didn't lose that speaker because we're virtual. So it's still something people can attend and do and learn from. It was just a little different.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that. The next thing, like I said, you guys definitely want to make sure you have a lot of prep time. Technology issues happen all of the time. You want to test run things 1,000 times before you actually execute them. Even with me trying to have a second computer up right now while I was doing the Excel spreadsheet was a little bit difficult. So when you have Zoom calls, make sure that the appointment time is set right. When you have YouTubes, make sure that they're uploaded a few days in advance in case the YouTube algorithm says for whatever reason there's copyright on these things and you can't have the video up. If you're going to do a Kahoot, make sure your questions are ready and that the link works. But you want to, I guess you need to be a little bit more conscious ahead of time now versus trying to do things more impromptu when you're in the present. Have you guys ever had a situation in which your PowerPoint just doesn't work in front of the classroom, or your flash drive doesn't work, or anything like that? Does anybody have similar experience with that? Yeah. You don't want the first time that you checked it to be the day of the meeting. And then the last thing I really wanted to talk to you was just trying out new ideas. Obviously, things are going to be a little bit different, but that doesn't mean that they're worse. You have options such as Jackbox. If anybody in the gaming club is familiar with that, have you guys ever used that?
Yeah, we're actually working on that being our first event of the semester. So we're going through different ideas for Jackbox and how to incorporate that. So y'all look out for that if y'all really like Jackbox, because we're working on that now.
Yeah, if anybody hasn't heard of Jackbox, it's essentially like I guess like an online game you can play on your phone. So it's open to the public. Like it's something that anybody can just sign in and do. You don't have to have an application. You don't have to have a particular type of technology. You can do it on your phone, your laptop. And so when you look at new avenues, you find out that there's actually a lot of resources that are low cost or free, open to anybody. Another one, I know you guys are still looking at online card games. You told me, like, how do you do Uno in person? But believe it or not, there's group chats, like your phones can do these things. So how could you do an Uno tournament where maybe you take everybody's phone number and then each person plays and you build a bracket via that, and you could even stream that type of thing. I know that music therapy, you guys were talking about, how do you, with it being such an interactive thing in person, how do you present that? So Music Therapy Club, what is something that you think you could do online that would still have people's attention?
So we've thrown around a few ideas. One being, we checked out, like, the Netflix Party app. They have one or like the plugin, whatever, for Chrome. They have one for Disney Plus. So we were thinking about having everybody get together on there to watch Coco, and then talk about how, like, neurologic music therapy can play into that. Like, in the middle of it, everybody brings their own popcorn.
Okay.
And then, like, virtually getting stuff around your house and making musical instruments out of that. Just two ideas we've thrown around.
No, I like both of those. Especially like the do-it-yourself, like building an instrument thing. I know with a lot of people, different organizations, you guys have to physically be there typically to show how to build something. But even with Blacksmithing Club, I know your concern was, everybody doesn't have access to all the materials I do. But what if you did a video recording of you preparing something via your blacksmithing kit? Is that a possibility?
Yeah, I had a few questions with that too. I currently live in Asheville with my parents, but I'm moving to Charlotte in like 2 weeks, and I'm gonna have a nice actual metal shop in Charlotte. I know there's locals there, so just had a few questions kind of with the liability of using that for the club, even though it's not technically, part of Queens or anything like that. But yeah, I could definitely do demos pretty easily. I just know everybody's excited about being hands-on with it.
True. Very true. And, there is going to be some stuff where there's just like a barrier, a cost barrier that doesn't make everything as accessible. But even finding, I guess, like Corey said, like at home things that you could do that might still apply, that could make it hands-on and interactive. Because I think the key is being able to do things, not just listen at things. So if you could do a do-it-yourself video, or if you could do a let's cook or a let's show how to participate in these things, they get practical and actual investment into it. But is anybody having any ideas that you're just like, I'm not sure how I could get this still to work online? Does anybody have anything like that? Well, I'm glad to hear all the events are very applicable online. I'm glad to hear everything still works. But this is an opportunity, and the same thing, like both this meeting and the ICC meetings are opportunities for us to get those brainstorming ideas going on. So if you guys are wondering about presentations or how to make your event still work virtually, this is a good chance to get that covered. But we are going to move.
Question?
Yeah.
So, sorry, I just kind of thought of it, and I don't know if it's silly, but when we submit the online events form, would it be helpful if we put like our Ring Central meeting code like in the information box? That way, could that be put on the Rex Connections when you guys like make an announcement about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you have the Ring Central event link already when you're submitting that event request, absolutely, you can go ahead and send that to us. If not, it's something that we would follow up with you. So if you send it 3 weeks in advance and you were still, you've got the day, but you're trying to solidify some things or, confirm things, we would follow up with you and say, hey, how is the event planning going? If you have a link for this, send it to us so that we can make sure that it's in Rex's Rural Connection. Don't forget to put it in Q News, whatever else. But absolutely, if you have the link, feel free to put it in there.
Okay, thank you.
And the last thing I wanted to talk to about successful online events is definitely fostering those connections that you guys want to do. One of the benefits is that you have statistical numbers. You get to see who's all in your Instagram. You get to see who's all joined your Facebook group. You get to see who's all in your group chats. So you get to kind of trend and watch those things grow. But the key to those is to actually utilize them. I know that you guys are used to a lot of in-person meetings, but when you make those Facebook groups, when you make those Instagram groups, and when you make those group chats, you have a new opportunity to share articles or share any web-based information that might be popping up, as well as still having day-to-day posts. So what I mean by fostering connections is keep talking to people. You may not be able to see them in person, but you can share a story with them. So if anybody doesn't have an Instagram for your organization, this is the time to make one. If anybody doesn't have a Facebook group going on for your organization, this is the key time to make one, because you'll be able to keep people live, up to date on your events, while still having it feel very organic, and watch those communications go on in the comment sections and those conversations happen in the messengers. So does everybody here have at least a group chat for your organization? Does anybody not have that?
Business Club doesn't have a group chat, but we have like an email list.
Okay. Email lists are definitely fun. But as everyone said, like, concerns kind of come into play when emails are not read and a little bit like missed. So I'd recommend, if you can, doing either GroupMe or iMessage or just a general text group chat, some way of just having a room if anybody just wants to have conversations about the different reasons your organizations are brought together.
This is kind of a specific question when it comes to social media, because there was a lot of change in leadership when it came to Business Club, and not a lot of properly passing down things. So we have an Instagram, but it only has one post from 2016. And we don't know like who is in charge or the password or anything. Is there a way Queens can get it taken down and we can make a new one? Because it's like, it has Queen's name in it. I don't know.
Unfortunately, I don't think there's any way of getting it removed, but you can most certainly get a new one made and, change the name of it, maybe make it a little bit more synonymous with the Queens brand, because some places are like queens.blase, blase, blah. So I would recommend, especially if the last post was in 2016, this sounds like a great opportunity for you guys to make a new page, and kind of recruit and promote that page, because a lot of things are really good when they're fresh. And so that goes ahead and gets some of your initial traffic going. Unfortunately, we can't get rid of the old one, but I think making a new one is a really good option here.
On it.
Anybody else questions about events, online events, and making them better, how to get that engagement, how to get those connections? Even Google polls are a really good way of getting feedback, and you can send those out and make those in like 5 minutes. And it can be as simple as, what do you think went well? What do you think went wrong? What were your favorite parts? And any bit of feedback that you get helps you tailor your next event. All right. Well, if there's no questions, Monica is going to take us on to the next part of our presentation today.
Can you turn off your screen share?
Yes.
Awesome. Well, first of all, hello. And I have missed all of you. And this makes my heart so happy right now to see so many familiar faces, because I won't lie, it's been real sad since March. I'm used to seeing you all of the time, and I'm used to a big move-in weekend. So my heart's a little bit sad and grieving because I didn't get to welcome everybody back to campus, and we didn't get to do welcome back coffee, which, if you know me, is my absolute favorite tradition because you had me at free coffee and breakfast. So this is lovely, and I'm so happy to see all of you and hear about the great things that you're doing with your clubs and orgs this year. One thing I do want to say is that, like, student engagement, we got you, okay? We're gonna get through this. I have done nothing but live in a virtual space since March, and I had to figure out on a dime how to do virtual orientation and engage our incoming first year students. and how to kind of house all this information. And I've been helping other campus partners do the same thing. So I am so ready to help you all figure out how to navigate this space. I am a master at Ring Central and all the online things. Will, I see you for the gaming club. If you have not already purchased Jackbox stuff, don't bother. Student engagement bought all 6 boxes, and we will have that available for you all. So like, we're ready to go. We are so prepared to help you navigate this space. And I know that was a big fear that everybody had. So I just want to clear the air while we're here. We are so ready to help with this. So let me share my screen, and kind of going off of what Eddie said in terms of making things engaging. Y'all know that that's like a pet peeve of mine. And I don't like to be talked at. And I assume that you all don't like to be talked at. So please just be prepared that during the next hour, we will be engaging in a conversation together. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Monica Gillette. I am the Assistant Dean of Student Engagement. I've been at Queens just over 3 years. Many of you may remember me from my days in housing. I see a lot of Belk ladies that were in Belk their first year, which is one of my favorite buildings on campus. And a number of you have also lived in HBO and been members of the Sedman community or been RAs. So I have been at Queens for a while. I was a first-generation college student, so a couple fun facts about me. I'm currently working on my doctorate, so 1 more year to go. I feel all of your pain in terms of being in virtual classrooms, because I have also been in virtual class since March. And then a couple just fun things about me. I'm really into gaming, so I serve as the advisor for the gaming club as well, and it's something that I love. I'm also really into reading and really into cooking. And one of my fun summer projects, I've actually been doing a lot of canning. So making jams and jellies and pickled jalapenos and all those fun things. So, oh, looks like we have, Ring Central is the worst. Let me see if I can get, Eddie, can you look at whatever, it looks like somebody put something in the chat, but I can't see it because my screen is shared. So just to give you an idea of what we're going to talk about today, I'm going to talk about what your role as a club and organization president is. I'm going to talk about working with your advisor and the support that student engagement can provide to you. And then we're going to leave some time for questions and kind of anything else that you all have or in terms of concerns. So thinking about your role as a president, let me actually back up. We're going to use Poll Everywhere. And this is one of the things, again, like Eddie talked about, we want to be engaging. We want to be able to facilitate conversation when we're hosting virtual events. So you will see lots of opportunities for that in the next hour. One of the things that I love is Poll Everywhere. It gives you all the opportunity to get feedback and live interaction with the people in your event. Oh, there we go. Oh, yes. Yay, first gen. So for your role as a president with Poll Everywhere, I have it set up where you can put in a response and then you can upvote other people's responses. So our first question today is why do you all think that we have registered student organizations on campus? Why do we even bother? Why do your clubs and orgs exist? So if you go to pollev.com, this little code that you should see up here at the top / Monica, part of my last name 110, if you put that in, you can kind of type in, and I want to hear from you all. Why do you think we have clubs and orgs on campus? Why is it that you exist, that we provide funding, that we ask you all to kind of have programs and events? And you can put in as many responses as you want. And like I said, you should see an option where, let's say Corey puts in an awesome answer and you like her answer, you can click a little upvote on hers as well. I'm actually going to do this with you so that I can see the same thing that you see. Ooh, student connections, yes. Fostering your breeding community, fostering community. I like that. Connecting with others. Keeping campus engaged. Ooh, yes, encourage leadership. I agree with that completely. Makes campus life more exciting, exploring interests. Keeping the royal tradition. You guys have got some good ones in here. Encouraging collaboration, absolutely. All right, we'll do another 10 seconds if you want to put something in. Connections. Relationships. Increase diversity and inclusion, absolutely yes. I love this. So, and I love that most of you 100% agree that it's about that student connection and connecting with similar interests. So when I think of, as the Assistant Dean of Student Engagement, when I think of why clubs and orgs exist at Queens, you're absolutely right. So first and foremost for me, it's about fostering that sense of community on our campus. And yes, Queens is small, but we also know that it's really important that you all have what I would call social affinity groups. So you have people that are also in love with Animal Crossing or are going into the same major or who have the same hobby with blacksmith or are in the same pre-professional group or share a similar set of values or have the same cultural identity and understand what that experience has been like for you. It's just as important as your academic affinity groups, which would be your major and kind of that core curriculum component. It's just as important that you have that social affinity connection and that you find people who have a similar interest to you. Because while yes, it is important that you are at Queens, first and foremost for an education, we also know that a predominant portion of your education happens outside of a traditional classroom. And you're gonna learn selfishly, I think just as much, if not more, outside of the classroom as you are inside of the classroom. And that's where you're going to grow as a person. Whoever said encouraging leadership, absolutely. That is the core foundation of student engagement and what our mission is as a department, is to develop future leaders. And we do that through those opportunities to connect and engage through the leadership roles that you have in your RSOs and the ways that you can foster those relationships and develop that interpersonal skill set across campus. So all of the things that you said, absolutely. That is our hope for you as student organizations. And particularly as we go into this year, that's so important to remember why you exist as an organization and the benefit that you bring to this campus, because that's what's going to help people feel connected in this virtual space, is having other people who are going into the same major, or when you think about an election year, like being able to connect and process and have deliberative conversations about politics in a healthy and formative way. Things like college Republicans and college Democrats, those are critical conversations to have during times like this. So having people who share and can engage in that conversation is so important. So when you think about your role as an organizational leader, as the president of whatever group that you're in, what do you think your role is? What should you be doing as president? And this is one of my favorite questions. Creating safe space, fostering community. And I want you all to think about this in terms of a leader. So as a leader, what is your primary role as a leader of your organization? Guide and facilitate connection, leading by example. Ooh, inspire others to grow. I like that. Engaging the community. Initiating ideas, that's a good one. Growth again, absolutely. Making sure people are heard, very important. Taking care of the big picture, bonus points to whoever said that. Being supportive and inclusive, helping members grow. Foster leadership and confidence in your organization. Providing leadership opportunities to others, motivating. Y'all are just on this. I love it. So when I think about what the role of an organizational leader is, and fun story, so the doctorate program that I'm in is actually in organizational leadership. So this is what I do as a profession, is leadership development, talent development, team dynamics, group dynamics. That's what I love. That's what gets me excited every day. So when you think about what your role of an organizational leader is, I don't know how many of you have heard of Simon Sinek, but anyone who knows me knows that I am a Simon Sinek believer. He is a professional speaker and writer in the area of leadership. If you have not heard of him, send me an email and I would be happy to share the good word. But he has a lot of really great things, and his first book was called Start With Why. And it talks about kind of finding what that personal mission is. And if you've never heard of him, I encourage you to go onto YouTube or TEDx and look him up. But I'm going to have him share with you kind of what it means to be a leader.
What does it mean to be a leader, and what do you do? To be a leader means one thing and one thing only. It means you have followers. That's it. You know? It's not about learning your style of leadership and how to adjust your style to fit the situation. That's management, right? Leaders only have one thing: they have followers. A follower is somebody who raises their hand and volunteers to go where you're going. They raise their hand and volunteer to go in the direction that you're pointing. And so to lead others means that you have a clear vision of a world that does not yet exist, or that could exist. And by articulating that cause, that vision, that purpose over and over and over again, it inspires people who believe what you believe, who want to see that world built, to join, to go with you, to figure out ways. You know? And so for me, in my work, what leadership means is articulating this world in which the vast majority of us wake up every single day, inspired to go to work, and come home every single day fulfilled by the work that we do. That doesn't mean we have to like every day, you know, but we can love every day. You don't like your children every day, but you love your children every day, right? And so the more I talk about this world that does not yet exist, because right now the world we live in, the vast majority of people, 90% plus, don't love what they do. And they like it, but they don't love it. When I talk about this world, it inspires others who believe what I believe and want to see this world built, join up and figure out in their own way how to advance that vision so it becomes real. My role is to continue to pound the pavement and put that vision out there.
So through that, and I know some of it is, you know, maybe that's not your leadership philosophy, but when I think about what your roles are as organizational leaders on our campus and what that means for your RSO, as an organizational leader, your number one responsibility is to create and share a vision. And particularly when you think about the year that we're in, where we're all kind of disconnected and everything's kind of virtual, and, you know, how are we going to get people to join our clubs and organizations? The best thing that you can do as an organizational leader is make sure that you have a very clear vision for your organization. Why do you exist? What is your reason for being? And then what is the future that you want this to look like? So what is the vision for the business club or for music therapy or gaming? What do you want to exist this time next year that doesn't exist right now? And how can you communicate and share that vision with other people? And again, in their own way, help them contribute to what that vision is. And that really is your primary role as an organizational leader, figuring out what that vision is, reminding everyone in your student organization why your organization exists, what value are you adding to the campus community, why that matters. And then again, what do we want to happen 6 months from now, a year from now? What type of group do we want to be? What type of events do we want to be hosting? You're the person who gets to dream big about what it means for your organization. And that's your primary role as an organizational leader, is to have and communicate a clear vision for the future. And then going along that, so yes, having a vision is important, but if you don't kind of create an environment where people feel excited to work towards and contribute to that vision, it's not going to work. So some of it is, as you all said, fostering that leadership development, creating that motivating environment. So putting the structure and the resources, kind of like Simon Sinek talked about, that management part of it comes into it, of creating that structure that helps people contribute to the vision, guiding that workflow, setting those really clear objectives of, okay, we want to, it's not just, oh, we have the virtual RSO fair and we're going to do the video. Set a goal for your organization. We want to recruit 12 new members by October 15th. And then think about really intentional ways of how can we do that. And maybe the first step is that you participate in the virtual club and work fair. And maybe we're going to host an event in September, and here are the ways that we're going to communicate that. And we're going to put an interest form out on our Instagram where people can let us know if they want to join our organization. And then we're going to assign a club and an org member to reach out to each person personally. And we're going to invite people individually to the events that we're hosting. So thinking about those things, set really clear objectives for your club and organization, particularly in a year where everything else feels so ambiguous, like there's just so much that's unknown. Setting really clear objectives of this is what we're trying to accomplish and this is what I think we can do, that really helps in your role as a leader. And that kind of ties into the next point of building morale. So if people have really clear objectives of what they need to be accomplishing, the ways in which they can contribute to that vision, that helps people feel fulfilled by the work that they do, which Simon Sinek talked about. The goal is that everybody loves what they do and at the end of the day feels fulfilled by their work. And if you can create an environment where there's very clear workflow, this is how you do A, B, and C, and this is the flow and the process, and this is what we're working towards, that's what makes people feel fulfilled. So when you get to the end of the day, and I don't know if there are any other list makers out there, I'm 100% a list maker. I sit here with my planner and I will write down everything that needs to happen just so that I can put a check mark by it, even if I've already done it. I'm certain there are other people in this group that do that. But that's what makes it fulfilling at the end of the day. I said I was going to do these 5 things, and I got 4 of those 5 things done before lunchtime. So I went into the afternoon feeling like a rock star. And that's important for your team as well. Setting really clear objectives so everybody knows what they're contributing to and how they can contribute to that vision of the future. And again, that's going to be more important in a year where we're virtual than any other time. You have to communicate twice as often in a virtual space as you would when you're in a meeting. And I think some of that goes back to like, nobody reads the email. They don't, because they get like 600 emails and they've got a message from their professor and then there's Q News and then there's, 3 emails about something else. Like it gets lost. So sometimes it's sending an email and putting it in the group chat and putting notes online. It's doing it in multiple modalities. So like with orientation this summer, we sent the same information out through the ROAR leader and we posted it in their online class and we sent them an email and we would put it as an announcement. So just be mindful of kind of how you communicate and how that might need to be adapted for this year. So what I'm going to do now, and Eddie, I don't know if you've made me the host or if you're still the host, but what I'd love to do, and Eddie, you may have to do this because I'm not the host, so I can't send
How
them.
do I? Got you.
In the bottom, you should have the option to hit breakout. I'm going to send you all into rooms, and Eddie, if you can do it where it's maybe 5 people per room.
Oh, you're the host. You're the host.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
I will do it. So I'm going to send you into breakout rooms, and I want you to take just 3 or 4 minutes, and I'll set a timer and kind of remind everybody where we're at. But I want you to think about and talk with each other about why your organization exists. Why does Queens need a gaming club? Why do we need a blacksmithing club? Why does it matter that we have college Republicans or college Democrats or fraternity and sorority life? Why do those things matter for our campus community? And then take a couple of minutes and talk about maybe one vision or one dream that you have for your organization for this year. So I'm going to go ahead and send you into breakout rooms, and we'll be in breakout rooms until 3:30, and then I'll bring everybody back.